Please confirm if you can hear me and you can see the slides. Okay, I take the silence as a confirmation. The reason why we are asking this question is our talents, our God-given gifts are important ways of being present in the world, especially being actively and catalytically present in the world. We were given those unique talents, unique gifts for a reason, for us to go out and then to kind of multiply the outcome of that talent in our society, because it means lots of people depend on our talent, either for their knowledge, for their enlightening, for their wisdom, and for their path, and so on and so forth. But I heard that some of you are writers, some of you are good public speakers, and some of you are counselors, and those talents are important ways of being present. So, as Dr. Andy has been saying this morning, it is good that we use those talents from the framework of faithfulness to God, faithfulness to the created order, and faithfulness to the people who are around us. Now let's move to how we can change culture using those talents. Africa is one place that that needs lots of change. I mean, for good. And we don't need to change for the sake of changing culture, but we need to change the culture in order to bring glory to God and to expand His kingdom, to make His name known to the world. That is our motivation for change. We are not changing our culture to bring economic betterment, even though it is good. We are not necessarily changing the culture to bring good governance, even though that is really good. We are not changing the culture to minimize, to decrease the amount of corruption that we face, even though that is good. Those should be the fruits of the basic and fundamental reason why we seek change in our culture. That is to worship God, the gift giver. So, in terms of changing that culture, I need to talk about some of the kind of misconceptions in this slide and on the next one as well. One of the things that we also take for granted is if we are large in number as Christians, then we can bring change easily. That is not true. It is possible to be a majority Christian country and lack cultural influence. That is possible. Being the majoritarian does not guarantee that you would have a bigger influence in the culture. For example, America is one of the examples. America is a majority Christian nation compared to other Western countries, and lots of people identify themselves as believers in God, even more so in Christianity. But then when you look at the culture itself, the American culture is a very, very secular culture. So their default point from which their politics operates, their academic curriculum operates, the academic culture operates, the economic culture operates, is very, very secular. So the Christian voice, compared to other countries, it might be better voiced and it might be better visible, but it's still deemed to be sort of outlandish and out of space, offbeat when it comes to the to the culture. Africa is another, especially sub-Saharan Africa is another example. The churches are growing, numbers are growing. In fact, the predictions are that Africa is going to become a main Christian hub in the world in coming 20 years. The predictions are 2050, Africa become the main hub of Christianity. But that number doesn't seem to have translated in cultural influence, though. When you observe our way of life, our struggles, bad governance, corruption, conflict, human rights abuses, outsourcing of our resources and mismanagement of our resources, we experience probably one of the worst leadership problems in the whole world, despite the fact that our numbers are growing as Christians. Also, that is another example that shows numbers do not guarantee cultural influence. It is also possible to be in the minority or a minority group and bring about cultural change. And one of the authors of a book known as To Change the World, I think it's Samuelson Hunter from University of Virginia, is a Christian sociologist, give these examples of Jewish community in America. They are only 3% of the American population, but no one else has the influence they have in American politics, in American economy, technology, arts, and media, and so on and so forth. And other social activism groups, for example, if you look at the LGBTQ groups, they are tiny minorities, including their supporters. But then their influence is quite big. And we will talk later on why that is the case. So, but also it has been proven having the right heart and the right mind does not guarantee cultural influence either. You might say, oh, so and so, these people have got the right heart, the right attitude, the right kind of passion. But again, it doesn't guarantee cultural influence, even though those things are good. Being a majority is a good thing. Having the right heart and the right mind, the right attitude is also a good thing, but it doesn't, or they don't guarantee cultural change. Now let's talk about some of the misconceptions again about the cultural change. We are just pushing further to kind of deconstruct how we perceive the way we can approach cultural change. Some would say if you have ideas, unique ideas, transformative ideas, new ideas, then you can change the world. You can change culture. Again, ideas by themselves, because ideas are like designs. It is like to say, I have got a nice blueprint in which I can build a house, so my house is complete. That blueprint, though, it should be only on the paper. To bring that design into a concrete, tangible house that you live in, it takes a lot more than having the design. Anybody can go an architect and have a design of a nice house, but building actually that house is an entirely different ball game. That is idea. Ideas are like designs, architectural designs, but they are not houses. And others would say, especially in the Western culture, the modernists would say, We need autonomous free individuals. They are key to bring cultural change. This is to say, the problem is religion. The problem is tradition that is holding us back. The problem is the society. So everything is kind of a social construct that is being imposed on us. It is weighing on our freedom and our liberty to be creative, to go out to the world and to express ourselves. So when we free individuals from those social constructs, burdens and tradition and religious ideas, then individuals would become free. But those free individuals then will change the world. They would change the culture. So the main thing for them is autonomous and free individuals. It is true when the individuals are free and when they get their own space. We have been talking about being present. When they are being present freely with liberty, they can do lots of jobs. But individual by itself is not enough to bring about cultural change. As Christians also, we say Christian pietism, or being a devout Christian, that is what it means, pietism. Being a devout Christian is the most important goal in life. Because when you are a pious Christian, you will be aligned with God and you would have the right heart before God. And that is really, really important for cultural change, or key for cultural change. That is true in a sense. But being a devout Christian by itself does not bring cultural change. Now, the question for us is this. I wish we could have a more kind of group conversation time, but I really feel our time is a little bit limited to go into this. But I would like us to ask for a moment, wherever we are sitting, this question. Let me give you about 4 or 5 minutes, not to respond, but wherever you are sitting with the one-to-one, just to brainstorm. If great ideas do not guarantee cultural change, or free individuals do not guarantee cultural change, or even Christian devotion does not guarantee cultural influence, then what does? Ask that question. Where are we getting into this? When we say the ideas do not by themselves, I'm not saying these are not important. Please underline this. I am not saying ideas are not important, free individuals are not important. I'm not saying Christian devotion is not important. But what I am saying is they are not enough on their own. Then ask the question, what else are we missing here? What else do we need to bring in order to bring cultural change? Let me leave you on one-on-one to discuss this for 5 minutes. Now it is 12:25, and I'll call you back on past. Just have that conversation. If ideas are not enough, if free individuals are not enough, if Christian devotion is not enough, what else do we then need?
Okay, thank you so much, sir. We discussed in our group, and we were so blessed to have a mentor with us. We talked about the need to be the change we want to see. And we reflected on the person of our Lord Jesus Christ, and also on Mahatma Gandhi, the father of modern India, how the two of them demonstrated the change that they wanted to see, particularly our Lord Jesus Christ, how it discipled only 12 persons who changed the world. And we broke it down into action, that we should not just have beautiful ideas. We should not just have beautiful individuality who is free, and we should not just be devout Christians, but whatever that is good action, we should act on it promptly. And not just that, any action that we act on, we should be willing to pay the price, because there will be resistance, there will be consequences of any action whereby people may not like us. And when we have that conviction and the courage to act, and to pay the price, even in the midst of opposition, we will not be discouraged. So these are the things that we put together here. So the summary is that be the change you want to see.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. Looking at the question, said if great ideas, free individuals, and even Christian devotions do not guarantee cultural influence, then what? Here we discussed at length, and we're able to come to conclusion, a reasonable conclusion, that the three things that were written there are coming together of those three things will bring a change. How? The first one is great ideas. If it is well communicated to people with free minds who go back to their seat or their various places and express it in their free hearts, subjecting it to God to really bless it and make it work, then when we harness those three things with good communication, good action, as Elias said, then we'll see the change. Thank you, sirs.
Okay, that's a couple of pieces of feedback there. Dr. Girma, would you like to take things forward?
Sure. Thank you very much. Those are really very helpful ideas that have been forwarded there. I really like that. Just let's continue. What I'm going to present is not very far off from what you have suggested. I'm sure if I continue that conversation with different groups, you would come up with more ideas. If we were not limited by time. One thing that is really important is the word that you see on the screen, strategy. Ideas, if they are not strategized, remain ideas. They cannot be transformed into concrete action, as you rightly pointed out. So even the free individuals, if those free people are not strategized, connected strategically, as you said, and then that free individuals remain free, but then without influence. Christian devotion also, it is a huge, how do you call it, capital, spiritual capital that can be used to bring about social and cultural change. But again, those devotions need to be channeled and strategized. So in terms of strategy, what the first thing that we need to do as Christians is understanding the social architecture. What kind of social architecture do you have? What does our social structure look like? Let me give you an example from an Italian philosopher by the name of Antonio Gramsci. Antonio Gramsci was an Albanian Italian living in the southern part of Italy around the beginning of 20th century. And he lived in a very poor, miserable neighborhood that the poor people are really struggling to live their day-to-day life. And his father and his mother have been working very, very hard, and then they earn very little after working very hard. And that really made him suspicious of how the society functions. On the other hand, he could see really rich people owning companies, owning factories, owning land, owning that and this. So the masses are living in a very poor condition, economic condition. That reflects on his health. In fact, his father and himself were ill, and is said to be a hunchback, and he struggled with his health as well, because in his childhood he didn't get enough nutrition or medical attention, and so on and so forth. It has affected layers of his life. And when he went to school, he was exposed to Marxist ideology or Marxist social thinking and Marxist philosophy. So when he read Marx, he would say revolution is bound to happen because it is too much. The society is the poor, the working class, and the masses are carrying lots of burden. It should be enough. This is enough. So he would say revolution is now bound to happen to address this have and have not. Extremely rich, wealthy, rich people, but also extremely poor masses. And this cannot be sustained. There has to be revolution. And he took Karl Marx as a prophet. This guy is amazing because he's speaking into our life, he would say. And then, as he studied, he expected that revolution to happen. In fact, it did happen in Russia. It is called the Bolshevik Revolution. The working class seized the companies, the factories, and the economic architecture, and so on and so forth. And he felt that was quite exciting. In fact, he had to travel all the way to Soviet Union to observe how this is unpacking and unraveling. But he came back to Italy and he found out that this is not happening in Italy. He waited and waited and waited and waited. Then he started to revisit his Marxist philosophy that he happily and warmly embraced. So Marx would say, you would see that there is base and structure, or structure and superstructure. The Marx philosophy would say, we can't change culture, we can't change society when we take a control of economics. That is what economics is everything. So he would define every ill of the society from economic point of view, singularly. So controlled economy, which means a means of production, relationship of production, property, commodity, factories. When the working class is able to control this, it's really easy to change the society. That is Marx. Then Antonio Gramsci later on realized there is some problem with the Marxism that he happily embraced. Because it is not about outward structure. It is not about material structure out there like companies and property and commodity factories and so on and so forth. But then he discovered something really, really important in order to change the society. That is what he called superstructure. By superstructure, he means the mindset, the thinking framework of the society. He would say the ruling class are controlling us not only by controlling the economy, but also controlling the way we think, by controlling the way we perceive the world. For example, one of the ways is making our experience in life, our problems in life, into a normal. And then when your mind is controlled, you see a corrupt official, and then you say, okay, that is what it is. It is normal. You say, that is a Nigerian life. That is a Kenyan life. That's how we live in Ghana. That's how we live in South Africa. That is normal. So our minds, when they are controlled, normalize what is not normal. That signifies this, according to Gramsci, ruling class are reigning over us, not only by controlling our money, but also by controlling our mindset. So seizing economy and economic structure is not enough. Seizing the base is not enough. Seizing factories is not enough. We need to unlock our minds by way of unlocking the idea, unlocking the culturally driven aspect of life and art and religion and media, education and family. So those are important. So we need to go into that granular aspect of our life to unlock, to change culture. I think what Gramsci is saying has got lots of relevance to our life. It is not good to be obsessed with economy, but also we need to go deeper as Christians to change the minds, the way of thinking, our psyche, and so on and so forth. So when it comes to strategy, what can we do as Christians? First of all, we need to understand the cultural change requires an accumulation of knowledge as Christians. Unfortunately, we have come to a time, especially in Africa, that people are not looking up to the church for knowledge. There have been times that the church was a respected source of knowledge. When you see Desmond Tutu, he is a knowledgeable person. So even political leaders seek his wisdom. If you see Martin Luther King, he is a consummate scholar. Because even when they don't like him, they used to call him to White House, the political leaders, the American presidents, to consult him. So acquiring accumulation of knowledge as Christian community is important because we gain respect, we demand respect when we engage the world in a language that the world speaks, but from a different value system. Knowledge is important, accumulation of knowledge, but also accumulation of skills, credentials, and accomplishment. If you look at the life of Apostle Paul, he is not into bragging about his accomplishments and credentials, but when a shove comes to a push, he would draw his CV and he would show people, whether it is his Roman citizenship, whether it is the fact that he has been educated under the feet of the well-known scholar by the name of Gamaliel, and he would bring his credentials to convince his audience and to secure his position in the society. So as a church, we need to secure our position through knowledge, accumulation of knowledge, through skills, through credentials, and by way of showing accomplishment. Then we will find our stage and orientation. Some of us have been talking about the gift of public speaking, and the gift of counseling, and the gift of writing. Those gifts need to be honed, nurtured, so they are widely appealing to the wider society, not only singing or preaching to the choir, and for those who already know, but we need to go beyond our boundaries in order to change the culture. And in order to do that, we need those elements: knowledge, skill, credential, and accomplishment. And then cultural change requires more than a great man or great woman. You can be great individually, but then it also demands network and institutionalization. My brother earlier has been pointing out the example of Jesus Christ himself as someone who initiated probably the biggest and the most influential cultural change in history of the world. He could have said, I can do it on my, in fact, I'm the son of God. So I don't need a human support, or I don't need people to work around me. I can do it myself. But instead, he gathered people around him. He chose 12 of them. He invested in their life, both intellectually and spiritually. Those people who were around him for 3.5 years were equipped, inspired by him. And they grew to love him, so much so, for his love, they can risk their lives. Such was the depth of inspiration that they got. Network. And the second one was institutionalization. Probably the oldest institution in the whole world is the church. And every institution that has been established, they got old and then they went out of function. They disappeared, they die out. The only institution that kept on growing as the time goes is the church, because Christianity was an idea first. Christianity was a devotion first. Christianity was something that frees individual first from both demonic oppression, from cultural oppression, but also from political oppression as well. But it didn't end there. That idea, that passion was later on institutionalized. They call it ecclesia, people who are called out for a purpose. That is what the word means. People who are called out for a common goal, for a common purpose. So we need to institutionalize our ideas in order to bring cultural change. Paul did that. Wherever he goes as a missionary, he would establish a church. That is an institution. Then he would put people in that church who understand the heart of the gospel, who understand the message. Not only that, but also who understand the context as well. So when content and the context come together, it becomes powerful, and an institution it gives an institution a life. That is what Paul did. He appointed capable people like Timothy and Titus and others to operate because they understood his message, but also they understood the context. Martin Luther did that as well. He networked. Now, Martin Luther, the reformer, not Martin Luther King, the reformer of probably the father of Lutheran or Protestant churches. His intention was not establishing a new church, though, but it was transforming the existing church. But later on, in his name, other denomination was established, unfortunately. But what he did was he networked even beyond the ecclesiastical circles. He had network among the political leaders during his time. In fact, when his life was in danger because he was protesting against the Catholic powerful institution, Catholic Church, and they were the ones who have been protecting them because of his network. Again, Martin Luther King. His job was not just making nice speeches here and there and moving around from one state to another. In having capable people around him and making networks. So that movement became fruitful at the end. And another point is that understanding that culture is created, produced, and disseminated That is important. You could be a culture creator, and you could be a culture producer. Culture is produced by different agencies, like academia, schools are one of the culture creators, because they manage to get the minds of young people as if it is a blank slate, and they can write on those minds whatever they want. So they prompt the cultural creation. They produce culture. The media is one of the areas of drivers of culture, creators of culture, because they craft a story that can spread into the society with very, very high speed. And that creates culture. Culture is also disseminated. So what we need to understand is the direction of travel of culture. The culture does not travel from periphery to center. It doesn't happen that way. You might come from periphery to center as an agent, but culture always travels from center to periphery. If you have a good idea, if you have a world-changing talent, culture-changing talent, then you need to find a center. You need to be at the center. For example, if you live in a very rural area in one of the states in Nigeria, you might need to come to Lagos or Abuja in order to find that, because the media is there, the art is there, Nollywood is there. Do you understand the impact of Nollywood in Africa? Especially in the world even now through Netflix. Lots of people watch Nollywood. And then those movies are not value free. They are value laden. There is some sort of value lying under individual each movie. So I have seen Nollywood movies that has got very, very powerful Christian values behind them. What is the reason? Because the creators are Christians. The producers, the writers of the script, probably some of the actors are Christians. And they embedded their idea into that movie. In order to make that movie, they needed to come to the center. They needed to come to Lagos. They needed to come to Abuja. It was from that center that these ideas flow. And the last part is culture change can speed up when institutions and elites are involved. Because institutions have got visibility and elites have got visibility. I'm not trying to say you need to be elitist or everything has to go through elites, or elites are much better than the ordinary people. No, that's not what I'm saying. But then elites are more visible. Imagine a football player after scoring goal showing a t-shirt that Jesus is Lord. And then it would be suddenly a global news. If you say Jesus is Lord from your own corner, only a handful of people would listen to that. Because of their visibility, they can create lots of impact. So it is also good to reach out to those people. We have got Christians in every sphere of life, in the sphere of art, in the sphere of governance, in the sphere of media, in the sphere of sports and physical education, and so on and so forth. So we need to know how to stretch and reach out to them so that we can profile our message using their visibility. So those are the aspects of cultural change that I would like to just introduce, and I hope it would have given you something to think about and to plan about, to work as a group. And one of the ideas that we put you in this space with the help of Dr. Andy is for you to gel together to create your own network and to create to avoid that fragmentation that we see in the society. So it has been nice having this conversation with you. I hope this presentation would kind of create some spark so for you to continue the conversation. I have got about 4 minutes, and if you have any burning question in that 4 minutes, I would be happy to respond. Thank you very much, nevertheless.
Dr. Girma, while we have him with us, anything you wish to query or question or maybe add to what he shared? Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert, because when you talk about the elitist aspect of it, I will never forget the night that Kaká was presented as the Ballon d'Or. He removed the shirt and he say, "I am for Jesus." In the night, in fact, I made it an editorial for the Bible Society, SOA magazine, Kaká for Christ. I think it's important that we are able to sell our ideas to people. That's the aspect that I pick from it, seriously. Because if the idea is with you, you want to act, you are still acting unilaterally. But when you are able to make people buy into your idea and own it as their own too, then change can be positive. Thank you very much for the presentation. Very grateful.
Thank you so much. That is really helpful.
Sorry, permit me to sit because you're also sitting.
No problem at all. I can stand if you want.
Yeah, I just want to cite two portions of the Bible. When Peter was saying that faith alone is not enough. That's in 2 Peter chapter 1 from verse 5 to 8. He listed so many things to add to faith to make us grow in the knowledge of the God. The same way you are telling us today that ideas, pre-individual or Christian devotion is not enough. Strategy must be added, and we must also build a superstructure. And I said, whatsoever controls your mind, controls your life. We have what it takes as Christians to control people's lives. So we have to use it to the fullest and make sure that we change our world through that superstructure that you have mentioned. Also, James said somewhere, he said, show me your faith, I will show you my work. So all these things we carry around is not enough. We also must not be passive, but be actively involved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed. I'm Dr. Peter Gudra. I have found your presentation very refreshing and very inspiring. And I know that the same applies to everyone in this hall today. You have been truly a blessing to this community today. I think we should put our hands together for him. I'll reach out to you. We need to do more together. And this is a call to action going to Grace, who is coordinating. The central message I'm taking away from what you have presented is that these young men who are being mentored, who are receiving all these messages, should not go away as autonomous individuals. We have to find a way to make them work together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. By God's grace, I'm one of the trainees. I want to say that your name alone is another reinforcement to me as a trainee, teaching me and reinforcing me as a Christian to know what I should do, so that to know what I should do as a Christian, coming from an authority, going by your name. is a reinforcement, great one for that matter. So I am more better in strength to do what I'm supposed to do as a Christian. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's fine. Thank you very much, everybody, for sharing your appreciation of the time that Dr. Girma has shared with us this morning. One more time, can we just give our appreciation to Dr. Girma? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My appreciation to you as well, Andy, to Grace for bringing these young people together to inspire them. Thank you also for the Catalyzing Leaders group and for mentors and tutors who have been involved. And I was uplifted by your participation and by your comment. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of the day.
Yep. Thank you, Girma. Goodbye.
Right.
Okay, Grace, it is time for lunch, isn't it? Who is going to bless this time of eating together? Do we have a volunteer?